Hey, good morning or good afternoon, I must say. No, good night.
Morning.
Good morning, Tunde. So, still recovering from my jet lag, but you're still in Canada. I'm back from Ho Chi Minh City and in the Netherlands again. And today we decided to discuss some experiences of living abroad for for me like 1 week, for you a bit longer. But yeah, good to be back. So, uh, how
Good.
are you?
I'm doing great. You should be asking how you are doing because you just flew 10 hours to and fro within a span of 10 days, I guess.
Yeah, so it was interesting. I mean, travel is also is always a thing where, well, for me, I get excited by packing all your stuff and going to the airport and waiting in all sorts of lines. But this time on the way towards Vietnam, there was no waiting because it was not busy in the airport. So it took me 10 minutes to check in my luggage and go through security. So that's
Nice.
pretty awesome. And the flight went well. First stop was on Bangkok Airport, and I had 45 minutes of transfer time, so no real time to think about anything. Just rush to the transfer hall, go through security again, get into the airplane, and then
Where did you transfer for 45 minutes?
in Bangkok. So Amsterdam to Bangkok, and then Bangkok to
Wow,
plane
that
to
that's pretty fast.
a bit too fast because
Yeah, too fast. Really, too
they
fast.
they lost
I
they
usually target something like minimum of 2 hours.
yeah well, I didn't mind, and I figured that if they give me this because I booked it in one airline, so if they give this to me, then it's possible to do it, and it was possible. And you don't have to wait for boarding because you're instantly going to boarding. But there's this thing with your suitcase where they have to put your if you get your suitcase out of the plane you came from, then put it in the luggage system and then put it in the airplane. And while I was going to the gate of my plane to Vietnam, I saw that they already closed the hatches of the luggage. So I had a feeling my luggage wasn't going to be in there. And indeed it wasn't. So I met this a guy and a woman that were from the Netherlands as well, going to Ho Chi Minh City for work. And she had data and tracking device in her suitcase, so she could confirm my thoughts about the suitcase not being on board because we were here and the suitcase was still there. So I ended up in Ho Chi Minh City without a suitcase, and then you have to file this PIR um, thing when you go to a desk and they say, my luggage isn't here, and then they say, how does it look and where did you come from? And there you go, look um, for your luggage. Luckily, I got it uh, the day after at night, so I had to spend 1.5 day without my luggage. So it's in Ho Chi Minh City. It's hot, so you sweat. So you don't want to wear the same clothes as you wore 20 hours during your flight for another 32 hours or something. So that night, I went shopping with our mutual friend Ama. So yeah, I got to see the amazing shopping malls of Ho Chi Minh City as well. So that was also nice.
Do you remember the shopping mall you went to?
Yeah, I went to several. We went to one in the city center. Um, I think it's called
Is it a
this.
mall or a
Yeah.
market?
No, mall.
Uh,
I think it was called the Saigon shopping center or something. Very huge one.
uh,
And also there's one near where Amano Louis live and the expat district uh, and the new subway station. Um, so I went there as well, but had to buy a lot of things. Uh, yeah, then exploring the city. The good thing about going to Asia from Europe is that you basically spend the night in the airplane. So you have a red eye, and then when you land, it's I landed at about 1, and then you have already done the whole night. So you're kind of tired, but you're also okay-ish, especially if you got some sleep in the plane. And then jet
Mm.
lag is not really a big issue, so you can easily stay up at night because for your biological clock at night, it's still afternoon, so you don't get the automatic tiredness. So we just could have drinks on a rooftop bar and look over the city and drive around on the back of the motorbike and yeah, to really endure Ho Chi Minh City from a more local perspective than as a tourist. Usually, I could come in as a tourist. You go like, "How's this working?" You want to go to your hotel and explore a little bit, and then you go into your app with TripAdvisor or something to figure out what you're gonna do, and then you have you pack your bag with some water and some refreshments, and especially when you're out with kids, you want to be prepared. And now we just free for all into the city, and I got to use a app called Grab. This app will basically give you anything if you want to, so transportation or food or I don't know. It was very easy
Yeah.
to use, so that was something that I really liked. I mean, these are things in Europe that is unthinkable because you just don't order a cab this easily anymore because it's so expensive. You really don't want to go by cab. It's insane.
Yeah, Grab is pretty cheap in Asia. They
Yeah.
it was because of them Uber did not survive in Asia, and I think they bought a huge stake in Uber when it left, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, I heard about this from some people I talked to last week. Apparently, Uber decided to leave Asia, but in return they had a stake in Grab. So they basically gave up their market. So Grab is now in charge of the market there, and Uber still gets part of the revenue or uh, the profit. So
Mm.
yeah, but it was incredibly easy, and I used Grab the whole week, at least for my transportation.
You use the bike or the cab?
I didn't want to go on a bike, so I went by cab. But I know some others did use the bike. And, I mean, both are cheap, and yeah, maybe if I would become a true local, I would grab the Grab bike as well. But
Of course. If you live there for maybe a month, you will get used to the bike.
I also met basically all different types of people there, just with a cup of coffee or dinner, and basically all of them had a accident on a Grab bike. So that's also interesting. There was actually one guy with his hand in a casket because he broke his wrist on a Grab bike. He was hit by another thing. So yeah, it's not without risk apparently.
I've never had an accident on a Grab bike, but I don't use it often.
Oh,
I've probably only used it maybe 10 times in 3 years or something.
oh, you use cab or you have your own bike?
I have my own bike. Everybody have their own bike.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's also different. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, for a city with 50 million people, and at first it looks a bit chaotic, but like crossing the street, all the motorbikes going, all the cars, and you just start walking,
Yeah.
and everyone just goes around you. And the only thing you have to do is keep moving in the same direction with the same speed, and everyone will anticipate your existence and go around it, and you won't die. So I actually, when I was on the first day, I was on my own for a little bit, just walking around, and there were some tourists that want to cross the street, and well, when can we go? And I just walked past them. I just started walking on the road, and they go like, "Oh, the guy's just going. He's gonna get hit." And I went like, "No, I'm not supposed to get hit." So
Yeah.
and just crossed the street, and everything was fine. So that was quite funny. So
That's always the experience most foreigners have when they come in. It's crossing the street. And Vietnam is famous for no rules when you're crossing the street.
yeah,
They're not going to stop for you. You just have to cross and expect someone is not drunk enough to hit you.
yep. Well, it went well. So I mean, and the traffic jams I saw at night, it didn't went well because if everyone just drives into the intersection, there's no movement. So having a little bit of structure so people can actually cross the intersection would be nice. And especially when the cars are going one way, but the motorbikes are going this way, and they go on the inside, and the cars get
Yeah.
stuck, and the motorbikes, and then other cars come, and then you have cars and motorbikes, and you have a big pile of honking people. That's just a moment that I go like, well, this is not really the efficient way of doing it, I guess.
Yeah, it's actually very difficult to control because when situations like that happen, number one, people don't respect the traffic laws very much there. So people are supposed to stop when it's red, but people speed up when it's red. You know, it's red, so let me speed up and get out of the intersection. So if they don't stop, the other ones that are supposed to go, you meet them on the way, so it causes some traffic jam. And then when it's green for the other side, it's already blocked. So it's never clear.
No, no. It, I did hear that from starting January 1st or something recent, otherwise, there's a lot of new traffic laws, and they
Yeah,
increased much of the traffic fines by 5 times. So crossing a red light, um, stuff like that is going to be extremely expensive. And
yeah, I read that also, and also driving on the sidewalk is now also a huge fine.
and, and since there are cameras basically everywhere, and they use them to to check on it, I noticed, and Manuel noticed that more people are starting to obey the traffic rules. So apparently, it has an impact. And there's
Hopefully,
another law that is interestingly there. Vaping is now forbidden. You're not allowed to vape anywhere. Uh, so smoking is allowed in some places, but they have a crackdown on vaping, which is also interesting
yeah,
because we're
because
struggling.
vaping has been targeting younger people,
Yeah,
teenagers, and early 20s people, which is very bad. And vaping is even much more dangerous than cigarettes. So I think it's a good thing that they ban it.
yeah. I kind of wish that in Europe there would be more like this because we have the same issues with children vaping, and we have had multiple casualties last year on people vaping so much that it would break their lungs. Um, they get pneumonia, pneumonia. Yeah. Well, here goes my pronunciation for today, and
Pneumonia.
pneumonia. Yeah, thanks. And other issues because of the vaping fluid, which is terrible apparently in many cases. And people usually don't buy the one vaping fluid from the official dealer, which is at least controlled, but they order some terrible stuff online, usually from a Chinese website, which they'll happily send you to your home so you can poison yourself. Which is almost starting to sound like it's on purpose, but who knows? But fluids and everything are forbidden in the Netherlands, for example. But yeah, if you can't control the what's coming in over the mail, the whole thing is not really working. I must say, I saw a lot of people still vaping in Vietnam, so it's not that easily banned.
I think it should take some time.
Yeah, but I think it's good that these uh, yeah decisions are made to protect youth. Yeah,
Did you
so
did you try any Vietnamese food?
Absolutely. So from fried spring rolls to pho, I had it all. So I ate Vietnamese food on many occasions. I already knew Vietnamese food because it's available in the Netherlands as well, and I had a Vietnamese friend when I was younger, and he gave me some taste of Vietnamese food, or basically his parents did some occasions. So yeah, I actually figured that most of the Vietnamese food is reasonably healthy, which is also nice
Yeah,
because
it
it's
is.
a lot of vegetables and some protein and maybe some rice or noodles or stuff like that. But overall, it's not very fat. Not they yeah. Apparently, they do put some sugar in quite a lot of dishes, but I think like eating pho, it's nothing like that. There's no sugar in that, and you have vegetables and
Yeah,
some meat.
they do add sugar if you in the south, like Ho Chi Minh City, they add sugar in most of their meals, but in
Yeah.
the north, they don't use sugar, it's just salt.
Oh,
So
okay.
the food in the north tastes better, in my opinion.
Mm.
Um, but if going to the south, it's just sweet.
Ah, yeah. Well,
But the food is generally healthy, a lot of vegetables, proteins,
yeah.
and you can decide how spicy you want your food to be. So
Yeah.
you have the spices ready for you.
On a couple occasions, I got a lot of the spices, and to make things worse, I can handle the spice. It's not a problem, but my when I take it in, then it can trigger the hiccup for some reason. I have the same with a very cold beverage. If I just take a big sip, then I can get a hiccup. So one of the first nights I was eating out, and I was eating, it was more spicy than expected, and I got the hiccup, which is made me look pathetic. But it's also a bit annoying to have a hiccup while eating. But
Yeah,
oh well.
that's interesting. I never understood, or maybe try to follow why or what causes hiccups. But interesting to hear that you know what causes your own hiccups.
From what I read, the diaphragm, which separates your bowels from your lungs, in your
Mm,
it that's tied to the hiccup. And when it gets agitated, for example, by because if you throw in a cold beverage, it goes down the the system to the stomach, which is then also passing the diaphragm thing, which keeping your lungs in place, and that triggers for some reason the hiccup, and you get this weird response. So I was just eating, and I go like, "Oh, that's nice and spicy." And then my intestine said, "Well, it's nice and spicy. Let's give him a nice little hiccup in the middle of a restaurant." And I was sitting like, like a little baby. Babies also always get the hiccup, but yeah, that was fun. But you know what's also what blew my mind is um, the difference between low and high earning in Vietnam is higher than it is in most Europe countries. So, for example, if you go to Norway or to Sweden and you go to a bar, you would probably have to pick up your drink yourself. No one's going to serve it because they don't have a server because the server was not
expensive.
coming out of bed for the money they want to pay for serving drinks. So, no service for you. And maybe if you go to a more expensive place, there will be a server, but in many occasions you'll just have to go and pick up your own
Pick your
drinks.
drinks at the bar.
Yeah, yeah.
How?
Well, you just walk, and then you say, "I want a Coke or a beer or wine," and then they give it to you, and you pay it, and you just walk back to your table.
Oh,
It's like that. And if you want another one, you have to walk again. It's not everywhere, but quite often. So when you get to Vietnam, the service is excellent. I mean, the people are extremely helpful. They're very nice. Um, I haven't noticed a very strong tip culture, which you have in some countries, where you do have a server that the server is fully relying on you tipping. But I don't know how that works if they get paid for serving or that they're also relying on their tips. But there was no pressure. It was not always put on your bill. No weird tricks. It was quite straightforward. Just get some food, give a tip
yeah,
if you
that's
want
not
to.
tipping in Vietnam. Even if you want to give the the person serving you some money, most of the time they will reject it. So no tipping. That's a very good thing. In the West, the tipping culture is horrible. They put it down your throat.
Well, the West, we have to separate the West because where I live in the Netherlands, tipping is not uh, mandatory. It's not uh, you don't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to.
that's true. My few times in the Netherlands, there was no tipping, at least on the receipt that I got.
Yep,
But in the US, in Canada, oh, it's horrible.
I know. I
Some restaurants have a mandatory 10%, 15%. You can't even say 0%. It's mandatory there
because
that you have
they
to
want to
pay.
pay their servers, so they let you pay the servers. That's basically what they do.
Why don't they just charge it on the food and spread it? I mean, if I want to buy something for $20, I expect you already have your operational costs and everything on that $20 that I'm paying.
That's the same that the sales tax is never included in the US. I don't know how that is in Canada, but the sales tax is different in every state in America. So if you pay
Yeah, the
something
sales tax
for
is different here also.
yeah, so if you pay something that costs like $10, then it could be that you have to pay 11 in one state and 12 in the other because of the sales tax.
Mm.
And they never put it on the pricing. So you always that was something I had to learn when I was looking at pricing. Oh, that's not so bad. But then they put up the sales tax, and then they put up the tipping uh, thing as well, and then suddenly it wasn't that cheap, and you go like, whoa, what's happening? Which is annoying. So no, in the Netherlands you have a minimum wage, so every server earns at least the minimum wage or more, and then the tipping is a bonus. And quite often they're quite happy to get a tip, but it's not obligated. And if you just pay the money that's uh, on the bill, they would usually go like, okay, thanks, bye, 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 and no hard feelings, because I think in more than half of the time they don't get a tip at all. So in the
Mhm.
restaurants where I get served nice, I always tip, and I'm happy to do so. But it's usually not more than 5 to 10% of the bill, which is also
Yeah, if you're happy with the service, of course, what you can tip if you want, but
yeah,
these are even horrible services that you are being
es-
forced to tip.
especially
My wife and I
horrible
went to
services that will force you to tip.
my wife and I went to a Vietnamese restaurant here, and the food was horrible. It was extremely spicy, which is not the way Vietnamese cook. It was. I didn't have a good experience with the restaurant, and the bill came. It was a forced 50% on the bill. We can't even say, okay, we don't want it to because we didn't enjoy the service or anything.
Uh, yeah, that's impossible here. I mean, they cannot do it. It's not allowed by law. You can only put on the pricing plus the tax, which is all included. You can only show the pricing included in the tax to individuals. Business to business is different, but to individuals it's always like this. So that's quite straightforward. But yeah, I don't know. It's part of the whole idea of I don't know what idea is behind it anymore. I think in Europe most of us are going like, what's happening in the US, and apparently also in Canada. But
Yeah,
it's up to them. So in Vietnam, service was great. I did it. I really liked the fact that they were not begging for money or anything. They were just extremely polite, and it felt sincere. So
yeah,
I don't know if that's not the case or it is the case, but at least it felt sincere, and I really enjoyed it because it was a long time ago when I really had an experience on a generic level. Of course, if you go to the Netherlands, you go to a nice restaurant and they're nice people, then it feels sincere and they're nice and get nice service. And but the cultural difference with the service providing in Vietnam is just on another level. I mean, it's just because it's more inside of the culture to be polite, and it made me polite. I mean, I felt like doing it back as well, you know? So everything
yeah.
goes a bit more soft and smooth and nice. And I like it. I really liked it. Um, and um, with a European income going to Vietnam, everything that involves people doing stuff for you, labor, is very cheap, which makes you feel like a king. I mean, I've never had the experience of just whenever I want to go somewhere, I just press the app and a cab comes in a few minutes. You just sit in the back in the air-conditioned car, brought to the place you want to go, worry-free, feels completely safe. Um,
Let me tell you one experience that I had the last time I was in the Netherlands. Uh, Normally in Vietnam, when you travel and you book an hotel, the hotel service will come in and clean your room every morning, no matter what. So they will clean the room every morning, change your bed sheets, clean everything every morning, change your towels, change everything. So let's say you left in the morning, by the time you come back, everything in your hotel room is brand new. The bed sheets, the towels, everything. So in the Netherlands, I left the hotel, I changed the key to please clean the room. When I came back, it was nothing changed. The towels were the same, the bed sheet were the same. Like, okay, this is weird. So the second day, I met the cleaners at the door, and I was telling her, "Can you please clean the room?" But this lady doesn't speak English. She was like, "Clean what? Um, just you in the room?" I was like, "Yeah, but I've been here for 2 days, so at least change the bed sheet or change the things that I've used and bring new supplies." Like, no, the nothing is dirty. That was really surprising to me because an hotel you're supposed to clean
okay, well, normally
and change.
they have, as long as I'm used to in the Netherlands, if you put the towels on the floor, they will change it. If you hang the towels on the wall, they won't. So they assume you'll use them again. And the bed sheet, they will probably change it every few days. So it might be 2, 3 days they will change it if you stay longer. Unless you have, they usually have a system or a card which you can put on the bed, and they will change it anyway. So yeah, you cannot assume that it will automatically change everything, but this doesn't sound like a normal practice where they, if you, especially when you hang up the please clean my room, which implies that you want your room cleaned, and then they
Mhm.
don't, which is weird. But it could be
Yeah, that was a
different
weird
per
experience.
hotel. Yeah, but yeah, I stayed in a nice hotel in the expat district in Ho Chi Minh City, and the room was like brand new every day I got back. So I think they change out most.
Yeah, that was the experience I always have
Yeah,
everywhere.
but it
Even if
was
it's if you go to the worst of the worst hotels in Vietnam, they will always change everything you use the
hmm.
next day.
For me. It was not that much of a difference than I would expect in the Netherlands from at least a 3-star or more hotel. But I don't know. Maybe you had a bad experience, or yeah. I do know that hotels are also struggling to find staff and also struggling with uh, pricing of people. So the hotels in Vietnam are a lot cheaper, and then compared to what you get, are better than you could expect in the Netherlands. So yeah, fair enough.
Mm.
Yeah, interesting.
So, which was your favorite food, Vietnamese food?
I like the cold spring roll. Um,
Is it the fried one?
no,
Not the fried one, right?
not the fried one. No. So I like that. The fried spring rolls I also like, but I know them from the Netherlands. They were nice, but not that. And pho as the soup with everything in it, or with it, I like that as well. Um, yeah, I also had all kinds of other stuff like um, fried. Uh, I don't know what it's called, but it's a fried sheet. Basically, you break off a piece and you can dip it in stuff. So I added it some restaurants, and
Oh, so they bring those to you as like snacks, right, before the main
yeah,
meal?
you can dip it in shrimp paste or something like that. I like that as well.
Yeah.
All kinds of beverages, like just drinking from a coconut. It's also nice. Just
Do you have you don't have fresh coconut in the Netherlands, right?
yeah, well. it depends on how you call it fresh. The
They
freshness
are
what you see in Vietnam and in other tropical countries is that it still has the outside. So the coconut has the outside greenish thing, and then on the inside there's
mm,
a hard stuff. So in the Netherlands they do sell the hard part. Then the outside is being discarded, and then you can make a hole in it, and then you still have the coconut milk inside. So much in many supermarkets you can buy them, but I don't actually usually purchase that because I think the coconut water has been in there for longer. It doesn't taste the same. I don't really enjoy it. Um, so yeah, and the Vietnamese coffee with the condensed milk. I had a few
mm.
of them, but I also noticed that they have like 10,000 calories in them because of the condensed milk. So I didn't want to
Yeah, condensed milk. Yeah,
I didn't want to take too much of those, but they're lovely and they are extremely
you
sweet.
can ask them not to add any milk, just coffee only.
Oh yeah. I had a tiny bit of milk. I like that. So yeah, I had those dishes. What's also what's also interesting, what I liked, at around 10 in the afternoon or in the evening, um, the noise starts fading away. So I think between 10 and 11, it starts to become silent in a very busy city. Um,
I think the law in the city is you can make as much noise as you want until 10.
yeah,
So until 10, you will see in people's homes, they have karaoke with large speakers facing outside, so they can sing, but they can only do that until 10.
that and then after 10 it becomes silent and I could sleep in
Yeah,
my hotel because I was street side and I noticed that there were some salespeople with large speakers making noise. And then it starts all over at 6 a.m. So between 10 and 6 are the best times to sleep. And when you wake up at 6, you go outside and it's cold. Cold, it's just the right word. Not so hot. When I was there,
cool,
it was around like 23, 24 degrees. So it's nice to have a walk or to do workout. And then you have breakfast and you go to the office. And that's the thing I really liked about my experience for a week. Usually I have to take care of my family and I do all kinds of stuff related to living here. When I was there, I was fully focused on work and myself. So I could do some exercise in the morning, just have a nice breakfast, and then I pick up my stuff, get a grab car, go to the office, work until work is done, then have some dinner, hang out with some people, and then go to the hotel and sleep again. So that rhythm gives a lot of focus. It's low on distraction. That's something that I appreciated as well compared to my regular life because there's so much going on, and that work is one of those maybe 10 things you have to deal with, while there is one of the two things you have to deal with. Um,
yeah,
and I know that's not, if my family would live there as well. I walked through the expat area a couple of times, so you see all the nannies and the moms bringing their kids to the international schools, and there was a whole traffic jam of people with SUVs bringing their kids to school, um, and stuff like that, which shows that they have the same challenges. Maybe they just hire a person to bring their kids to school, but uh, I don't know. It's I think in
I
X,
think it's the same everywhere, but maybe just in different ways.
yeah. Well, for me, not being there with my family meant that I had a week of this. I've never experienced it like this, uh, and especially with the climate. There's not the raining season, so I could go out. And right now in the Netherlands, it's the dark side of the moon basically, so we have little sunlight. So having a lot of daylight was nice, and the warm climate is nice. It was not too moist, so I've been to Asian countries during more rainy season, and then it feels very hot because of the humidity. But it was not the
Yeah.
case right now in Ho Chi Minh City. So yeah, overall that gave me a very pleasant experience. And it's also nice that every home basically is also a shop. So you can, if you walk like 500 meters, you've crossed probably 500 shops on
Yeah.
either side of the street. So you're never far away from anything you need. And even,
Yeah, you can always find something you want to buy in a walking distance
yeah,
compared to living in Canada or somewhere where you have to go into a shopping center or a small mall nearby before you can find anything.
yeah. So that's interesting. And then they have this thing with the Grab app. If you don't want to go out, you can just order anything from your favorite shop, and they will go and get it. Um, which is something they tried in the Netherlands in some of the bigger cities with some delivery services, but none of them have become very successful. So they're experimenting with that. But the problem is that you have to have a lot of people using that service to make it interesting.
So people don't order in the Netherlands?
No, I don't think enough, and there's not enough margin on it to. I mean, there's the thing is when the transportation of the goods is very cheap. Uh, it doesn't add up a lot of premium on the product. So if you order a bag of chips, they will just bring it to you, and you have to pay a little bit extra for the person bringing it. But if that person is very expensive, the bag of chips becomes very expensive. So that's a bit of the problem we have here. Why these
There
services are
is
maybe not so interesting.
there's a lot of deliveries in Canada, but I'm not sure how they do how they pay the people that do the delivery.
No, we have a lot of food delivery services with pizzas and stuff like that, which is quite common and it works. I must say, inflation has made that expensive. So if I would order in a basic pizza meal for my family, I would probably pay around 40 to 50 euros, um, including,
But that is being delivered by the pizza company itself.
yeah.
Yeah, not a separate shipping company.
No,
But
well, it sort of is because most of the pizza delivery companies use the same delivery system. So you have this delivery company where all kinds of food or restaurants are connected to. So you basically,
mm,
but I do think they use their own delivery people. They don't have generic ones. So you're probably right. It's from the and then we have a new
even
grocery.
in even in Vietnam, the pizza companies always they use their own delivery guys.
Uh,
But it's because you have to keep it warm, right?
yeah,
You have to keep the pizza warm, and not every delivery person has a cooler to keep the food warm. So they use their own people.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's the same here. I now think yeah. And then you have I don't know. I don't even know the name of these companies that delivering that you could just order like some beer or yeah. They even had a weed delivery service, so you could order your favorite weed and they would bring it. But
In Canada, you order from, for example, if you order from Walmart, Walmart will ship it. You don't have to worry about the shipping company or person or anything. They just charge you, Walmart will charge you a shipping fee directly, which is like $6 or $7 if you ask them to deliver the following day. If it's the same day, I think it's like $10, which is okay.
oh, well, yeah, grocery delivery is pretty standard here, but I don't often use it. For some stupid reason, I like to choose my own vegetables and fruit. So
No, we just order something like rice, but the grocery itself, we have to buy, but we have to buy
uh,
because they will not pick the right ones for you.
no, well,
We order like something like rice, which is packaged, diapers for kid,
yeah.
those kind of things that are not food related. The food itself, we have to buy, go to the grocery store and buy.
Well, At least, I mean, you in Vietnam, you could also hire someone to do the grocery shopping for you and make a meal out of it, and then you only have to eat the food. So, and that's not expensive. So, I think that's living the expat life with a European salary. You can afford a lot of convenience when you live in a country like Vietnam. Um, you don't really have to do any of the laundry, cleaning, cooking. Um, but yeah, it's also not really a fair comparison because you're basically not really local. That's why it's called expat. I mean, the expats that come from abroad living in the Netherlands also have benefits. For example, lower taxing and stuff like that. So they usually afford houses I cannot afford and do stuff we cannot pay. So, but yeah, that's part of the expat experience, I guess. Uh,
Yeah.
it's also temporarily. I don't know if such stuff is in place in Vietnam, but in the Netherlands you can only do that for the maximum of 4 years. Uh, but yeah, it's there. Um, yeah.
What would you say? You've been to Thailand, right? What would you say is the noticeable difference between Vietnam and Thailand?
Um, Thailand was a bit more chaotic in the sense that it seems less regulated. So it was more. I mean, for some strange reason, Vietnam, although it was southeastern Asian country, it didn't feel chaotic. I saw the system, the traffic. It seems like chaos, but it isn't. There's a system, and it feels like everyone is adhering to this system. So yeah, some people go through the red light, but it was not that bad. It feels like um, the extremes were not there. There were no people driving around with loud music all the time, or there was not screaming or yelling. Everyone seems to behave to some sense, and I think in Bangkok
And
it was
Thailand was the opposite?
no, not the opposite because the Thai people are not obnoxiously loud or something, but it seemed like it did seem like a bit more chaotic, some um, more flashy lights everywhere, and more. I mean, prostitution, for example, is very visible in Bangkok. It's not in Vietnam. At least I haven't seen it.
Cool. Yeah. Could it be because when you're in Vietnam, you went on official or business visit, and in Thailand, you were
Holiday.
actually basically a tourist and you went everywhere.
Yeah, well,
So you had actually two different experiences. Did you go to the downtown in Ho Chi Minh City?
yeah, I
I
went.
mean, you went downtown, you basically lived there, but there is this Bouvier street that is it's a chaotic street.
Okay.
I've only been there like 2 or 3 times ever. Just
I'm not
but
sure. I did some walking on Sunday. I walked around downtown on the busy areas to the riverside, and I went to the Japanese district, which was an interesting experience. And so there were some places where as a tourist, or you would see weird stuff, and it was quite busy because that is coming, and a lot of people were making pictures. But yeah, it felt okay. I mean, I haven't felt unsafe in Bangkok. Um, haven't seen weird stuff, so it was quite similar, but it just felt like the chaotic part in Bangkok was just a little higher. But it could be a bias. You're absolutely right. And I've only spent a few days in Bangkok and only spent a few days in Ho Chi Minh City downtown, apart from my working there. So it's probably just an N is one experience.
yeah,
But
I think if you go online as a tourist, Bouvier will be one of the streets recommended as a tourist to visit,
uh
and it's the most chaotic street in the city itself.
okay. So,
I don't go there, um, so I don't really experience all those
but
chaos that happen there.
is it a
But
market
I've
or
never
something?
been to Thailand, so I also don't know how chaotic it
I mean, the Thai
is.
are nice people as well. I think they're a little less humble, so they're a bit more outspoken. I think, but it's compared to Europe, it's very nice. I understand why so many people go to Thailand for holiday, and that there are so many people that want to live in Thailand someday because yeah, it's nice. But I'm
Interesting.
I must study this further. I've just decided I need to, and I'll come back to you with my study results about the differences. But I think yeah, the cultural they have some overlap, but they also have differences, both in religion as is in their political system. So yeah, it's probably going to be somewhat different.
Hmm.
But,
All right.
I think Bangkok was quite clean, cleaner than I expected, and Ho Chi Minh City was also quite clean, also cleaner than I expected. So I did wander off sometimes to some back streets, and then there are some filth and dirt, and but it was not so bad. Um, I think I've been in Sri Lanka, and it was a, a little bit after the war with the Tamil ended, and there was basically filth everywhere. I think Sri Lanka was very dirty. India, for example, there was dirt everywhere, but I saw Ho Chi Minh City everywhere I went. I saw people trying to clean it, and I haven't.
Yeah, they try their best to clean the city almost every day, but there are always people that create more mess, like cigarette butts everywhere. They just trade around, and some people peeing randomly on the streets because they don't want to go indoor to pee.
No, and I
So
saw some stuff floating in the river as well. They had some barriers, and then there was a lot of garbage.
mm,
But that's yeah, not really a surprise, I guess. So I've been to way dirtier cities. On the other hand, I've only been in the city center and the expat district, and not. I mean, there are 50 million people there. I haven't met all of them. I have not been. I went up in the tower and I overlooked the whole city. Um, the city stretches to the horizon, so it's quite big. There are probably neighborhoods that aren't great and maybe not even safe. I don't know. But yeah, that I haven't seen. There's uh, there's a lot
yeah,
more to it. Uh, but yeah, I think it's pretty awesome. I can imagine you like living there, and I understand why Amma likes living there. Um, it's yeah.
yeah, it's a chilled country. It makes life easier when there are no strict laws. For example, you mentioned about every house has a shop, right?
Hmm.
Which is, I think, everywhere else. If there are laws that govern that, it's not possible to have shops everywhere in everybody's houses. People having some mini restaurants or mini bars in front of their houses. So those kind of things make life easier. You want to get something, you want to buy something, you can easily just step outside of your apartment and then you find everything you want to buy. So that convenience alone is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Uh, uh, Understandably. Although I do see that all those shops that are there, they all seem to at least abide the fact that they need to be there in a certain way. It was not that there was it just the whole street just seemed to be like uh, the same, which makes it look like it's organized to some extent. So I don't know. I've been to Delhi, and then they have the same thing with shops everywhere, but to such an extent that it looked like way more chaos. But probably because they left their stuff laying around everywhere and anywhere. So it's not
Mm.
really comparable. That's different. But yeah,
Yeah, there are pros and cons to everything. So
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's the whole week, and then flying back, and back to normal, but an experience added. Maybe it's time to wrap up,
Yeah, we should
and then
wrap up.
we'll talk again next week.
All right.
Okay, have a great week and enjoy everyone. And well,
You too.
bye bye.
Have a good one.
Thanks. Bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.